this is a quote that I got from one of our textbooks. It says, so first of all, let's talk about the need for having a plan. It's, we want teachers to be aware of what's going on. Nobody wants to come into a new job, not knowing the procedures and what to do. So another need for an induction plan is also for teacher retention. That's a big thing right now. And so this is why it's such a big need for new teacher orientation and induction plans, because it says until we recognize that we have a teacher retention problem, we will continue to engage in a costly annual recruitment and hiring cycle. That means like taking people that don't have those certificates and things they need and paying them to go back to school, pouring more and more teachers into our nation's classroom only to lose them at a faster and faster rate. This will continue to drain our public tax dollars, it will undermine teaching quality, and it will most certainly hinder our ability to close student achievement gaps. I thought that was kind of like, yeah, that's true. Because we get these short-term plans and short-term way to fix things, but it's costing a lot of money when we could just put the money into the programs in the first place. But, my personal opinion, we don't get paid enough. Especially new teachers that come in. Anybody knows the paying salary, yearly salary for a new teacher with a bachelor's degree? In Alabama, $34,000.
Gosh, that's terrible.
$34,000. So while I'm going over this, what you've learned, if you could just jot down some things you didn't know as we talk about it, and then if you have questions, what do you want to know? I would like to know that as well. So when we talk about the need for the plan, I don't know if you all recognize or noticed the email from Superintendent Matt Massey last week when he talked about being on the council for recruiting new teachers with the state superintendent. So he's on that council to try to figure out how to recruit more teachers and get a solution. But I thought this was interesting because this was a link in the email that he sent. If you look at the number of teacher program completers, we're talking about graduating from college and actually satisfying the requirements for the certificate. If you look at the 2010 and 11 academic year in Alabama, there were 4,004 completers. So that's graduates ready to teach. In 2015 and 16, it was 2,411. That's a 40% decrease. We don't have data for the years, but we do have data for those years. Nationally, it was a 27% decrease. So what does that tell you about Alabama?
Higher than the average.
Right, we're higher than the nation, the nation's average. And so, as a state, what the state superintendent, Dr. Mackey and Matt Massey, what they're doing on the committee is trying to figure out solutions for this. We do have a teacher shortage. It's pretty scary. When we're trying to fill Ms. Dalton's position because she's retiring, we probably had three candidates that were certified. A lot of people apply, they don't have that certification. You can't hire them. And it's like only 3. It's hard to find somebody to teach math. So these are very, it's very serious. So the reason we have a purpose. Anytime you talk about something that needs to have a purpose, so the purpose for the new teacher and induction plan is to retain our teachers. Kind of nurturing them, supporting them. Even though they may have a bad year in the classroom management, what are we doing to support them, to help get them through that? So I think that's one way we need to start, because when I talk to new teachers, I said, what do you worry about the most? Well, one thing is gaining tenure and just doing a good job. But what are we, as all of us seasoned educators, what are we doing to help support them? What are we doing in our teacher induction and our mentoring plans? They also worry about support from administration, and they also worry about classroom management. And thinking back to when I was a new teacher, I think I had the same concerns, just wanting to do a good job. And I learned early on to stop worrying about tenure every year. But that's something, that's your livelihood. You have to think about that. And so when we have these new teachers, not only are they trying to make it in the classroom, but they're thinking about, am I even going to be hired back the next year? So when we talk about what we'll do for them as far as an induction program or a mentoring program, I think one of the things we need to start with is they don't know the legal and the ethical issues sometimes that comes with educators. And I just wanted to point these out because I thought that this is something I would start with, the legal and the ethical issues. This is a teacher from Burbank, California, who had unlawful sex with a minor. We see these things as educators, and I'm just like you. I'm shaking my head like, how in the world could you ever? But it happens.
Yes.
It happens. And then also, under the influence of prescription drugs and alcohol.
I'm telling you, it'll wear you down.
Yes, at school, you know.
No, not at
Not at school, but
No.
but she was working.
Was she drinking at school?
Yeah, she was under the influence at school. Yes.
Oh,
My
Lord.
old teacher at East Limestone High School was caught with beer in her cabinets back in her room. It was about, I don't know, less than a year ago. I never heard about it.
And it's kind of like when you're with our students, you know, when it's like when they do something, you say yes, no, excuse me, and it's like when you're telling them this, it's like they've never heard it before. And this is kind of the case with our new teachers. It's like it seems common sense, right? But you have to review this with them because it's kind of like, oh, you know, with some of them, I'm being honest, and it's the truth. So we do have to start from here and talk about the legal and ethical issues, and then sexually explicit text messages to a minor. This is a big thing. You know, a lot of teachers may think that it's not, or some teachers, that it's appropriate, but it's very inappropriate to text students, and I just don't do it, because I have things in my phone that may go by mistake, or somebody may get my phone, but it's still coming from my phone. So I just don't even do that, and so I think our new teachers need to be aware of that. So the Alabama Code of Ethics is basically just a description of standard behavior that is expected. And so we ask that you all sign that every year to understand, you know, say, yes, I understand the Code of Ethics and I'm going to abide by it. There are 9 standards. Now I will say that I have these 9 standards in my office for professional reasons, but also I need to remember that trustworthiness is a standard. Confidentiality is a standard. Because sometimes I may not say things to let people know things, but my facial expressions will always give it away. So I have to remember that to keep my facial expressions under control, because a teacher will come about a student and I want to, you know, have a different face. So I have these standards up, but these are the 9 standards. Also public funds and property. That goes back to when you're taking up fees, and you need to turn those fees in to Ms. Fowler, Ms. Day, or whatever their policy is. Not keeping that money overnight or taking it home. And then also abandonment of contract means you just leave. Like you get another job and you just leave. But there's a procedure for that. In Huntsville City Schools, it's a 30-day policy, but here in Madison County Schools, it's 2 weeks.
It's 2 days.
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So like 2 week notice.
I was gonna say 2 days.
2 week notice, but Huntsville City is 30 days.
30 days.
30 days. Reporting procedures and disciplinary action. So if you have a discrepancy or you feel that the code of conduct, the standard of ethics, has been has been breached, you have 60 days, or more than 60 days as an educator, to bring that to someone's attention, the principal's attention. And then disciplinary actions will be defined as the issuance of a reprimand or warning. Again, this is something that will be taught to the new teachers that come. So they need to know first about the legal and ethical procedures. The next topic that we would talk about would be technology. I think someone said software earlier when we talked about what do you think they should know. They need to know how technology should be appropriately used in the classroom. We don't have a school-wide rule for technology. It's at your discretion. So new teachers need to decide, what will your policy be? Can they bring cell phones? Can they not? Can they be visible? What's your policy? And then with that, they should make digital citizenship a priority. That means making sure that they're using it responsibly. You know, teach them about cyberbullying, because that is something that does exist. And then some thoughts are something, for new teachers, something boring on paper is still gonna be boring on a tablet or a laptop to them. So think about those engaging lessons. Let students be teachers. Now, in most of your classes, this is easy. All of your classes are hands-on. When I walk in, students are always doing something. I walked around the upstairs hallway area yesterday during 4th block, and I saw students carrying another student. And immediately, I'm thinking, oh, are they okay? I'm thinking, no, that's help. That's help. So they're always doing something. So technology will be a focus. And then also a designated time for teachers to meet. Currently, Mr. Shaw does the new teacher inductions and all the new teacher meetings. So he does have a scheduled time for them to meet, but we do need to reevaluate it. Is it enough time? And sometimes new teachers they did a survey. They indicated that in PLCs they feel a little overwhelmed because it's like they're with seasoned veteran teachers who know so much and they don't know as much. So they appreciate having the time being with just new teachers, and they feel more comfortable asking those questions when they're just with new teachers. They should also be introduced to special education services. What does that mean? What is an IEP? Because a lot of them, and then some of them don't have backgrounds in education. They may be coming from math, science fields, engineering fields into the classroom and not know what special education is. So that would also be a topic. Also knowing the special education process. ELL, English language learners. Those are your students whose English is not their first language, and they may need some help with their fluency. So knowing what ELL is, we only have about 20 or so students that are actually ELL. And then you also have those that are LEP. LEP is limited English proficiency. Okay, and whether students are special ed, ELL, LEP, the most important thing for those new teachers to understand is that they should be treated the same as any other student. They shouldn't be denied anything at school. Career Tech. I think that new teachers should know about our Career Tech program. That was something that wasn't taught to me. We had Career Tech in my old school, but it's a lot different here. Because here our students actually leave campus and go to Career Tech. In my old school, we had Career Tech classes on campus. So new teachers need to be aware of that. They need to know the classes that we have in Career Tech. Also, they need to know how students can apply to get into Career Tech, which, from my understanding, the deadline was March 1st or 2nd for those applications. Mr. Romine came in and talked to students, but I know welding is already full. That's one of the big things, but Career Tech should also be explored. Now, this doesn't apply to us, but I just want to touch on it briefly, that pre-K programs should be explained to them. Adolescent literacy, like ARI programs, they're very big in making sure that students know how to read, and they focus in on that kindergarten through 3rd grade. So they have DIBELS and different types of assessments for them. And then finally, there should be a mentoring program, and we have a mentoring program here. When we pick teachers for the mentoring program, we try to get teachers that have at least 5 years of experience at the school. They should have good classroom management, good organization and communication skills, and then also they should have some experience in leadership roles, okay? And basically, that's it. So if you had some of those things listed that I don't have, I want to go back and look at your sheet, because I didn't put classroom management up here, but I think it should be. It definitely should be. So with the next 2 boxes, if you could just fill out what you learned, what you want to know, and thank you very much. I was hoping we got time for some discussion. Yes.
Did they ever